Greetings, my magnificent friends. It's Friday again, and we're back with Tea with Sue. I'm Sue, your magnificence mentor, and it's my pleasure to sit with you today for a few minutes over a nice cup of tea and just chat about important things that I find are running through my mind and I want to share. So that's what this time is all about. Today, I want to talk about the beauty of desire. So a while ago, I bought this amazing series of books called The Way of Mastery. This one is book one called The Way of the Heart. And I was rereading actually, about desire and how everything in our lives starts from desire. You have nothing in your life without first there being a desire to have it. So I want to walk you through this today because I find it not only fascinating, but it was enlightening to me. I'm ever a student of life, and just about the time that I think that I've learned all there is to learn and I'm ready to move forward, something else comes along and says, but what about this? So there you go. So I'm constantly learning new things and I want to share what I'm learning. So desire. So the book said, what if you think about what you truly desire? And I realized at one point in my life, I stopped desiring things. I didn't dream about having anything. I was kind of, oh, well, the universe will provide. I'll just go with the flow and whatever the universe provides is okay. Well, for the most part, that was sort of true, but it left me a little bit rudderless because I didn't know what direction I really wanted to go in because I hadn't examined what I truly desired. So what was so interesting, they gave an exercise in this book to, after doing some morning meditation, to write down for 7 days in a row what it is you truly desire. And there were no limitations on what you put down. If you said, well, I desire a dozen donuts or 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 sex with my partner or what, it was up to you. The point of it was, how many times do we stop ourselves from desiring things? So anyway, you start by writing all of this down. And let's face it, when we wake up in the morning, we don't get out of bed until we desire to do something, until there's a desire fills us in some way. And maybe it's a bodily desire to get out of bed so you don't wet the bed. That might be one thing. That's kind of my big thing in the morning. And it could be a desire for that first cup of coffee. Well, then you activate, then you take action on that desire. So we do a lot of things unconsciously based on what we desire. If we don't desire anything, then we stay in bed. Maybe we go back to sleep. Well, I desire more, but it's still a desire. Well, I desire to stay in bed, or I desire to get another 15 minutes before the snooze button activates again. So it all starts with desire. So nothing happens in our lives without some kind of desire. The same thing with what we see that we can acquire in life. Somebody had a desire to create that. And if they hadn't had a desire, it wouldn't exist. All right. So they thought about it and then they took action, and it was a strong enough desire that they wanted to bring it into being. So that's how the process works. Now, what I found so interesting as I've been doing this is, when I wrote down my desires, So one of them was, I've always wondered, what would it be like to be tremendously wealthy? Well, I would like to experience that. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. I would like to experience that. And in the same breath that I'm feeling this desire and imagining what this might be like, the voices in my head start. So, come on, that's not for you. What makes you think that you're worth having that level of money? What if you just spent it recklessly and then you had nothing to show for it? What if, and so all of these naysayers in my head about my desire began to run. And I'm going, whoa, just a second here. Why aren't I as worthy of having an abundance of cash, to having my bank account filled as the next person? Why would that be? Well, why would that be? Because there's something in me that puts the brakes on, that says, oh, no, 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 that desire is not appropriate for whatever reason. And you know, some of it comes from teachings of the church. Money is the root of all evil. And I thought, okay, that was sort of deep seated. I kind of wasn't expecting that. And then, well, you have to work hard for that kind of money, and you don't really want to work that hard, so you don't deserve. And I'm going, oh, that's interesting. So there was this whole pot boiling over of all of these notions and these beliefs that I believe are mistaken beliefs. That, because is that really true? If one person has had a desire for an abundance of cash and they got it, well, it's available to all of us. So they just maybe had a stronger desire than I did at some point. So what I love about examining the beauty of playing with our desires is to see what comes up for us, what roadblocks, what challenges, what thought patterns that are not particularly serving us, that serve us in a negative way, that prevent us from getting our heart's desire. What are those? And then what are we going to do about them? How are we going to deal with that? Now, one of the parts of working with desire is that we take the judgment out of it, because that's what's happening, isn't it? As soon as we think of something that we would really love to have, judgment can often set in from all of those voices that tell us, oh, that would be wrong, that would be bad, that would be whatever it would be. Why? Who says? And so we have that voice of authority that wants to rule over us, to stop us. Now, we can have whatever thoughts we want. We can have whatever feelings we want. That's our God-given right. I mean, whether or not we act on what our feelings are is another thing, is another issue. And what I like to work towards, and what I'm working towards, is to go below the surface of what's obviously there and say, okay, what's at the root of that? And what's at the root of that? And dig deeper and dig deeper until I find that weed of misery that I can just pitch out, and like dandelions, the roots go all over the place. And so it's hard sometimes to root that out. But let me give you an example of how I have known this to work. So a number of years ago, I was at a workshop, and in the washroom, I met this young woman, and for some reason we got talking about body shape and weight, and it was a personal growth workshop. And she said to me, and I complimented her on her figure and her dress, or however that conversation transpired. And she said to me, "Oh, I didn't always look like this." And I said, "Really?" And she was very slim and very attractive. And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Oh," she said, "I was overweight and I was pear-shaped." And I'm going, "What? Really?" And I said, "Well, what did you do?" And she said, "Well, I just worked inside me with the power of mind and the power of my desire, and I visualized the shape that I wanted to be and the size that I wanted to be." And I said, did you go on a diet? Did you exercise?" And she says, "No, I just kept focused on what it was, the picture that I saw for myself, what I envisioned, what I truly desired to look like, and what I wanted to weigh, and what size I was, and so on." And she said, over a relatively short period of time, she said, "I shapeshifted. The weight just dissipated and the weight fell off, and my shape changed." And I'm going, "Whoa, that's amazing." Well, of course, at that point in my life, I knew that what she was saying was possible. I absolutely knew it was possible. And I was at a point in my life where I had gained some extra pounds that I wasn't that happy about. And I thought, I wonder if that would work for me. So I gave it a shot. I dived in and I envisioned the shape and size that I wanted to be. And I didn't really diet. I paid attention to what I was eating, and I kind of processed what I thought I was going to eat through my mental and emotional taste buds, and to decide if that was really what my body wanted or not. And there were times when I would say, "No, it doesn't want that cookie," or "It doesn't want whatever." But I didn't deny myself anything. And I didn't change my activity level particularly. And just like this other woman, I shapeshifted. The weight fell off. Well, where did it start from? It started from a desire. And of course, I needed to take some kind of action. I was diligent in bringing this picture to mind over and over and over again, consistently over several weeks. Well, I was astounded at how effortless this transition was from where I had been to where I did, excuse me, oh, excuse me, to where I desired to go. Well, it can be as easy as that, or it can be as hard as that. So if you have a deep-seated belief, for example, that changing your body shape and losing weight and all of that focus requires extreme sacrifice in the kitchen with what you eat, and "Oh, I don't dare have a cookie, I don't dare have a hot fudge sundae, I don't dare have bread, I don't dare have," and on and on and on. And I need to ramp up my exercise. And because scientists say, well, if that's part of your belief structure and it's deeply ingrained, well, then that's probably what it's going to take for you to achieve whatever. So it's important that we play with that, because, as I've said before, so much of what goes on in our lives starts right here. It starts in our minds and in our hearts. And if we desire something different, then that sets the stage, that forms the foundation. So it comes from desire. So what I want you to think about too is, how often do you suppress your desires? So when I first started doing this exercise, I was hesitant to put anything down, because I'm thinking, "Oh, no, I can't write down that I desire that." And I'm going, just a second, this is me in my mind deciding what I want, why would that stop me? Why would I feel blocked about writing anything down? It was as if I was waiting for permission. Well, would it be okay to desire that? So I had a good laugh at myself about that, because the only roadblock was me. And so I did this exercise several months ago, and now I'm doing it again. And now I find myself wanting to go deeper into my desires and look beyond material things, beyond just the surface, to say, all right, is there something that's really at play here that I desire? Is it freedom? Is it value in my life? Is it richness of purpose? What is it that's at the core of that? Well, of course, we can do that when we have our immediate needs looked after. I mean, let's face it, if life is tough and you're struggling to put food on the table, then that's probably the uppermost desire, and as it needs to be in order for you to carry on. And then as that desire gets met, as things manifest, because when we resonate and deeply believe that we deserve to have the kind of life that we most desire, when those two mesh, when there's no dissonance or discordance about that, that's when everything lines up, and there it is. And you go, wow, how did that happen? That was easy. Well, it was easy because you lined everything up. You were willing to put your desire out there, and you were willing to surrender the roadblocks, to give up whatever was stopping you from having that. So this week, I really encourage you to play with desire, to have fun with it, and write it down. And you don't need to share it with anybody. You can have whatever your heart's desire is, if you choose, because of course the next step is taking action on whatever it is that you desire, to set an intention around it, and then take some kind of action. But in the meantime, just play with the desire. So what is it that I really want? And it's a friend said to me, do you covet that? And I realized that it was a kind of an increased level of desire. And there were some certain things I really, for example, I coveted a piece of ammonite, which is a beautiful Alberta stone that is not unlike an opal. Well, we don't have opals so much in Alberta as other parts of the world, but this ammonite has this beautiful fiery color when it's mined and polished and so on. And I really coveted a piece of that. And bless his heart, this friend of mine gifted me with this piece on a pendant. And so, wow, I never thought I would get that. And yet, when I voiced the desire, it appeared. So have fun with that this week. You know, you can desire whatever you choose. You are magnificent enough to play with this and see what happens. I'd love to hear about this journey with desires. So until next week, have a marvelous weekend. Believe in your own magnificence. Notice the magnificence in others, because truly we are magnificent. If you're enjoying Tea with Sue, please subscribe to my channel. You can get more Tea with Sue at the Magnificence Mentor app, which is a free download. Have a great week, everyone. See you next time.